On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Halos are 8-2 entering last night when they strike out less than 10 times a game. And they are 3-8 entering last night when they strike out 10 times or more in a game. Last night, they struck out 12 times. So guess what happened? We've got the details. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, are you repping a Super Halo Bros t-shirt right there?
I am.
I love it. Look at us.
Wore it to work, all that good stuff. How about
doing
that?
A little Mike Trout fly ball catch out there. Grab a shirt in the link in the episode description. We'd love your support in that way. Hey, we're here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball with you every single weekday, Monday through Friday. On today's show, Baseball America shared their second mock draft. Who do they have the Halos taken at number 2? Well, things definitely will change before then and now, but it's always good to check in and see who's hot and who's not. Mike, the Angels signed a bullpen arm last week. We'll share who it is and what it means and if he's playing in tonight's game after Ian Anderson gets DFA'd at some point between now and tonight's game, right? Am I right? Yeah. Let's recap that game against the Pirates last night.
Yeah, Zach Neto was in the lineup batting second. Kevin Newman was hitting ninth and playing third base. And he had some success against the Pirates starter. He was 5 for 11, but Rengifo wasn't in there. Got word from Jeff Fletcher that he had a root canal on Monday, so that's why he wasn't playing Tuesday. He was available off the bench. He did come in as a pinch hitter in the bottom of the eighth. Baseball players get root canals, huh?
Baseball players get root canals.
They're humans,
and they keep them off the field. Apparently, it's too much to handle. Maybe some root canals are worse than others. Because I've had a root canal, and I'd be out there. I don't know, Mike.
Yeah, Jose Soriano started last night. Has a history with the Pirates, of course. He started with the Halos, was signed as an international free agent, had Tommy John surgery with the Halos in 2020. Then the Pirates took him with the number 1 pick in the Rule 5 draft. And then in December of that year, they got him. He got hurt again in 2021 and needed a second Tommy John surgery. So the Pirates let him go back to the Halos. And he struggled last night, didn't he?
Yeah, nothing was working for him other than his sinking fastball. And he wasn't long for this game, Mike. He threw 40 pitches through 2 innings. 20 of them were strikes. 20 of them were balls. Nothing off speed was hitting the zone.
No.
Gilby mentioned on the broadcast that it looked like he was flying open early. Mentioned that. And my concern was, is anybody communicating that to him in the dugout? And a lot of people said, yeah, they see it. They're talking about it. You have a lot more faith in Angels brass than I do,
right.
Considering, how things went for Soriano. In fact, I believe it was Preston on Twitter said, I bet you that's the first conversation that Ohapi had with him. And I agree. I think, of course, there's probably people in there telling him, hey, dude, you're flying open. That's why nothing's landing. And then Soriano couldn't make the adjustment. That's totally understandable. But what I am contending here is anyone on the Angels coaching staff telling him about this? And if you believe that, that's great. I think you just have a lot more faith in Angels coaching than I do. I've been burned by Angels coaching the last 10 years. Now, if there's anybody I do have faith in, it's Wash and Wright. They see that kind of stuff. But just pardon me if I'm a lover scorned from the last couple of years.
Sure.
And Angels coaching and Matt Wise and all of that, right?
Sure. To your credit, nobody came out to speak to Soriano when he was really struggling.
And that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
And that was the biggest issue. I know that Ohapi came and spoke to him, and they brought the infield in to talk to him as well, but no coach came out. And so that was a bit frustrating. Now, in the second inning, John, he loaded the bases with 2 outs, was able to get out of it. In the third inning, he wasn't so lucky. He gave up a single, a walk, a single, and another single, and that would be the theme of the night. The Pirates just singled the Angels to death. They scored 2 runs in that inning. In fact, Soriano allowed 9 base runners through 5 innings to the Pirates, a team not known for their offense. In fact, they really were not great entering into this game. He loaded the bases after the Pirates scored 2 runs in the third, but he did get a double play, which was good. It was the 9th double play turned behind him. But John, 3 innings, 64 pitches, just 32 strikes thrown. And that was the theme of the night for Soriano.
And it was a close game at the beginning, despite Soriano's struggles. But the Pirates were coming into this one hitting 206 as a team, Mike, and now they're hitting 218 after last night's game. 18 hits off of Angels pitching. So here's the thing. It wasn't even at this point, you can say, oh, Soriano struggled. But Angels pitching struggled the rest of the way. Yeah. And again, I loved this tweet from Preston, who I was interacting with on the Locked On Angels Twitter. He said the relief A team and the relief B team are far and away too far apart.
Yes,
in this bullpen, and I 100% agree with that
point.
We've got great relievers, and then we've got guys that you're like, oh no, what's he doing out there?
Yeah, John, the Angels did have a chance to get back into this game. We saw Taylor Ward hit a solo home run in the bottom of the third. But the problem with that solo home run, it was the 11th straight solo home run for the Angels. You got to get some runners on in front of him. And then Soriano struggled again in the top of the fourth, gave up 2 more singles, then a 3-run home run to Andrew McCutchen that knocked him out. He allowed 12 base runners in 4 innings, 84 pitches through just 45 strikes. John, that's just a 53.6% strike rate. That's terrible.
Yeah,
Not
gotta
great.
Be better. No, I know you're going to the game tonight, and as a baseball fan, are you excited to see Andrew McCutchen with the Pirates play?
Yeah, I think it'll be great. I'm concerned about tonight's game because it is Kahanowitz on the mound, who is very similar to Soriano. And so I'm wondering how it's going to be for us because Andrew Heaney's pitching, and he either is going to blow up in an inning and 2/3 or he's going to pitch a no-hitter. That's just how it goes against the Angels, right?
Right. Well, and he's pitching against his former team, so obviously it's going to be the no-hitter situation. But, as a baseball fan, I'm like, man, that's going to be pretty cool to see McCutchen back with the Pirates and play. Now, here's a note. More than half of the Angels' wins in the last 2 years have been of the comeback variety. They would need to come back in this game. They got it started in the bottom of the fourth after a Soler double and an Ohapi single. Shonowell hits a sac fly to score Soler. At that point, I was like,
that was a good sign.
Hey, there we go.
Right? Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Joe Adell hits a double down the left field line. Hey, that sounds familiar. Ohapi scored. So that made it 5-3 at that point. Unfortunately, Mike, we talk about shutdown innings on the show all the time.
Yep.
And what we mean is this. Angels score a run. They come back a little bit. They scrap and claw. But in the next inning, the pitching gives it right back. And that happened in the top of the fifth. After Garrett McDaniels gave up a walk and a couple singles, the Pirates added on an extra run. They made it 6-3. And then they made it more difficult for the Halos to come back. And at this point, by the way, the Pirates have just been averaging 3.4 runs a game. So they've essentially doubled that in this game against the Angels. Now, high five to Michael Darrell Hicks. He came into the game in the top of the 6th, overcame an error and an overturned call in the top of the 7th, held the Pirates scoreless. 2 innings pitched, 3 hits and 2 Ks. His longest outing and his best one of the season after he had a really shaky debut in that first game.
Yeah, Angels had a chance, bottom of the 8th. Ward drew a walk with 1 out, then Trout draws a walk with 2 outs, but then the Pirates bring in their closer, Dennis Santana, to face Soler, and he strikes out swinging to end the threat.
3-pitch strikeout. Yeah. Slider below the zone.
Not great.
No. And I don't know where his head was in that moment, but that first slider that he swung at was already at the knees.
Yeah.
And it just dropped almost into the dirt, and he swung at it. Now,
the Pirates did add on some runs in the 9th inning. It was too much for the Halos, obviously, to overcome. Ian Anderson was the main culprit. John, tomorrow's show, we're going to ask the question, what do you do with Ian Anderson? So if by this recording, we don't know what they're going to do with him, he's probably still on the team, but maybe he gets DFA'd. But what do you do with him? Because, John, he's somebody that has just not been great. And the other question we're going to wrestle with on tomorrow's show is, what do you do with Kyron Paris? Because that guy is not great right now. He's 1 for his last 20 with 13 strikeouts. So what do you do with him? So, I mean, it's just kind of a small picture of the larger picture that's happening with the Angels offensively. When they get runners on, they're not able to move them over. And then when nobody's on, they're hitting long home runs, which are awesome, but it doesn't do much for your team. And then in the meantime, the pitching staff is struggling with shutdown innings outside of Michael Darrell Hicks. And then you're bringing in an Ian Anderson who just doesn't look great against the Pirates. And
right.
That's the thing. It's the Pirates. And that's what's so frustrating about last night's game is this team, the Pirates, they suck. And why we make them look so good is so frustrating. Now, if the Angels win the next 2 games, that's great, right? But it's just so frustrating that they started the way that they started against this team, that Soriano started the way that he started, and he couldn't get out of it. And I felt like they left him in just far too long. After the 3rd inning, I would have yanked him. I wouldn't have pulled him back into the game in the 4th inning because he just didn't have it, John.
No, not at all. And I think everybody feels the same way that was watching this game. And there's, contention of, is Wash going to challenge somebody like Soriano to have a chance to overcome his struggles? But it seemed way too clear. You had 3 innings worth of information there, and it just seemed way too clear that Soriano wasn't going to bounce back.
And why do you have Reed Detmers in this bullpen who's on a few days rest? When you have somebody like Soriano struggling, then you bring in a Reed Detmers who is a long reliever and a former starter, and you let him eat up 3-4 innings or so, right? I know that he's struggled. I'm not saying that he's been perfect, but his numbers are much better than an Ian Anderson. And to not go to him doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you use Garrett McDaniels, then you use Michael Darrell Hicks, and then you use Ian Anderson.
You use Brock Burke too. And Brock Burke's one of your better relievers. I don't know why you're using him in that situation.
It just felt like he mismanaged the team last night. And I don't know all the details on Reed. Maybe he needed an extra day, but I mean, gosh, he hasn't pitched since Saturday and they had a day off. And so I'm bringing in Reed Detmers and I'm taking Soriano out. 4th inning, I'm having Reed Detmers pitch and I'm asking Reed to get me to the 7th inning.
Yeah, I think Reed was up and warming at some point. And so, it's just interesting that he didn't come in because this is the type of game that you would put in a Reed Detmers, even though, again, we're not 100% confident in him. And, there's situations where he's come in where he's given up the lead or what have you. But this was a come from behind sort of situation that feels like it should have been him. So the Pirates are now 9-15. The Angels fall to them. They fall back to 500. They're 8-2, Mike, when they strike out less than 10 times in a game, but now they're 3-9 when they strike out more than 10 times in a game. And last night they struck out 12 times. Angels pitching gave up 18 hits, a high for the Pirates. And so it was just an ugly game all around. I need you to get to that stadium tonight and need you to get us a win. All right.
Yeah,
so
I will.
I'm 0-1, so you got to redeem us. Say thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, who does Baseball America have for the Halos taking at number 2 in the MLB draft? We'll share who it is and all the details about him coming right up.
Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for the skilled trades. It's supplyhouse.com. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. And with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts, plus 400-plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. It's not AI. It's a real person that has probably got their hands dirty like you're getting your hands dirty in the work that you're doing. And if you're a trade pro, you get an extra edge. They have a free Trade Master program that offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage of this. Now it's your turn. So join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And use our promo code when you check out SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, Baseball America made their most recent mock draft, and they have the Halos selecting Jamie Arnold at number 2. Remember, around October, the Halos were tied to Jace Lavalette, but now things have changed, as they do. And so the closer we get to the draft, things will probably change again. But it is good to keep in mind who Baseball America has mocked up at number 2. And in this case, It's Jamie Arnold. Let's talk about him. First, his scouting grades look great. Remember, grades are based on a 20 to 80 scale. Arnold's fastball grade's at a 60. His slider is at a 60. His changeup at a 50. His control is at a 55. Overall, his grade is a 60. Second, Arnold finished third among all Division I pitchers in strikeouts, trailing only 2024 first-round picks Chase Burns and Hagen Smith. Hey, you heard of them. He was a Golden Spikes Award semifinalist and finished with a sub-3 ERA. And listen to this, an impressive 159 to 26 K to walk ratio. In 2024, he helped the Seminoles reach the national semifinals in the College World Series. He capped things off with 4 hitless innings, 7 Ks for Team USA in the International Friendship Series against Chinese Taipei over the summer.
How nice.
I know.
Series.
The Friendship Series. We should start a Friendship Series here on Locked On Angels. So that's a little bit of background on Arnold. What are the scouts saying about him, Mike?
Johnny, he is a left-hander with a rangy body, is what they say, and a loose body. Scouts call it a wimpy arm because it's very loose. It's very unorthodox as you see him pitch. Arnold.
I love these adjectives. Whippy.
Yeah.
Rangy body.
Yeah.
Loose. Yeah.
Arnold and his stuff have drawn comparisons. His mechanics and his stuff have drawn comparisons to Chris Sale.
Okay.
So YouTube Chris Sale and look at how he throws the ball. Arnold's very similar to that, and his stuff is very similar to that. He has seen his stuff tick up since leaving high school. He throws from a lower arm slot, has a flat approach with his arm angle. This helps his fastball actually grow in miles per hour. He was throwing 88 to 92 in high school. Now he's sitting at 94, 95. He's touched 97 with a ton of life, and he's missing a lot of bats.
Yeah, that's a great miles per hour range on the fastball, especially for somebody in college like him.
And I'm glad you corrected me. I said wimpy arm. It was whippy arm.
Oh, whippy, Michael.
Whippy arm.
Cool whip. His slider can be a little bit wide at times, according to Baseball America. It lands between 82 and 85. It's his second plus pitch after his fastball. He's got a 41% swing and miss rate on that slider in 2024. He's got the changeup as a third pitch. Doesn't need it much, but he does have some feel for it. That's a pitch that seems to, come along later for a lot of these guys. He has the ability to fill up the strike zone. You like that. Limit the damage and maintain his stuff deep into outings. Now, here's where Baseball America says which players will be picks 1, 2, and 3. Right now, the Nationals are projected to take Seth Hernandez, a right-handed high school pitcher, out of, Corona. That's not too far from us.
Right.
Of course, the Angels would take Jamie Arnold in this situation. And then the Mariners at pick number 3 are slated to pick Ethan Holiday in this mock draft. Of course, younger brother of Jackson Holiday, Matt Holiday's kids. Many had him at the top of their list, right? And so, again, things will change based on how this college and high school season goes for a lot of these players. Mike, is this the move? Is this guy a future ace of the Halos? What do you say?
I would love the Angels to take a pitcher. I know it's going to change as we get closer to the draft, but I would love for them to take a pitcher for 2 reasons. One, John, they're not going to be in the top 10 next year, no matter what happens, because they've already been in the top 10 in the last 2 years. And when that happens, then you get knocked out of that, and then you can come back in the following year. So they're not going to be this high next year. So I think you got to take a strong ace-like pitcher, go get somebody good, and go get somebody that can help you in the future. Second thing is they have some great infielders at the major league level and at the minor league level. And so I think that you can get some of those backups and maybe second-tier players as the draft continues. So I say go and get a Jamie Arnold or a Jamie Arnold type of pitcher, somebody that can be strong. My concern is, John, the reports say that the Angels are going to go under slot at number 2 because they've done that the last few years with their top picks so that they can save some money and then sign some guys later on in the draft. I think that would be a huge mistake because you're not picking 1, 2, or 3 too often in the MLB draft unless you're terrible.
Right.
And the Angels aren't going to be there next year. So I think that they need to go and get somebody good at number 2.
Just to, assuage your concerns a little bit. Am I using the right words? Assuage. It's my word of the day calendar. Assuage.
Beautiful.
Now I hear you on don't go messing around, not paying these guys what you need to pay them in terms of getting them to sign with you. However, I will say, if the Angels are going to get a college guy, it will very likely be under slot. I don't think it'll be incredibly under slot. I don't think it'll be, overly like ridiculous in terms of under slot, or they'll reach for somebody way down there. So to me, I think part of the consideration you have to make in terms of this projected mock draft is that the Angels are going to go after somebody who's a college arm or perhaps a college position player, because these guys don't really have a choice other than to take, that draft pick and sign with the team, because that's the next step for them. It's professional ball. If it's Ethan Holiday, if it's Seth Hernandez, then you can't go under slot. You really have to pay them what they're owed in terms of the slot value.
Yeah.
But with a college player, there's a little bit more flexibility there. And so I think that might be the consideration that the Halos are making when it comes to somebody like Jamie Arnold, or I should say Baseball America is making when it comes to the Halos taking Jamie Arnold at number 2. But again, things change. Things will change. They always do change. At some point, it would be wise for us to look at the next mock draft and look at numbers 1 through 10, because it could end up being any of those guys. Mike, I've heard that the top of this draft class is not fantastic, but it is a deep draft class. So maybe your 1s and 2s, of course, it's the year that the Angels pick in the top, but maybe your 1s and 2s and 3s aren't necessarily going to light the world on fire, but there's a lot of depth behind them that the Angels could pick up. And they've done well in spreading out the wealth and picking up the guys that they need for their minor league system. Again, this is all definitely going to subject to change, subject to change, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll keep everybody posted on what these mock drafts looks like moving forward.
Got the bags packed for the game tonight, and we already loaded up the wonderful pistachios, and I'm not sharing with my wife or my friends.
I saw them on sale at Ralph's for like half price almost. I picked up a couple of bags.
I went to the grocery store and got them. They are delicious. And John, they're nutritious. They are one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein. It's going to give you over 10% of your daily value. And they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you going all day long. Hopefully the game is just a 9-inning game and not a long game. But John, if it's a long game, I'm going to eat my wonderful pistachios. I'm going to be just fine, right? And I got both varieties. I got the no shell because I love the no shell. And then if the game gets really anxious filling, if the game is worrisome, if Andrew Haney's throwing a no-hitter, which is likely against this offense right now, then I'm gonna get the shelled variety, because I'm gonna need something to do while I'm watching the game and getting angry at our players. So get snackin, get crackin with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Mike, after last night's performance and that great comment from Preston, the Angels A team relievers and the B team relievers feel worlds apart.
Yep.
And that's unfortunate.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be a problem moving forward until they get somebody like Robert Stevenson back. David Robertson is still a free agent. We talked about him last week and wondering why they haven't done that yet. But the Angels signed Hector Neris to a minor league deal. They assigned him to the ACL Angels just to get a little bit of work in. He's 35 years old. He was once the Phillies closer from 2017 to 2019. He's got a career 3.40 ERA. He made 2 appearances with the Braves last season, gave up 5 earned runs in 1 inning of work. Whew, that's not good. Doesn't instill a lot of confidence. He has split time between the Cubs and the Astros last season, where he had a 4.10 ERA. He's just 2 years removed from a dominant season where he had a 1.71 ERA, making 71 appearances with 68 and a third innings of work. We bring up this move to update you, but we also bring up this move because it opens up an interesting discussion, right, Mike?
Yeah, Perry has built our current pin mainly through development and some trades. Ben Joyce is an example of development, and Ryan Zefferjon is an example of a fleece by Perry Manassian of the Red Sox, right?
Yeah.
And there's been conversations about Zefferjon potentially being the closer if they decided to trade Kenley Jansen at the deadline, right?
Yeah, there was a great conversation. I believe it was from Fangraphs. It was an article about Ryan Zefferjon and what he has to offer, and saying that his stuff is too good to not close at some point. In fact, they said he might even surpass Ben Joyce as a closer if it comes down to that.
Wow. Now, one thing that Perry did do this year is obviously sign Kenley Jansen, a veteran, to come in to be the closer, but also to lead this young pin. And that's one way to build this bullpen. There's also the other way to build the bullpen, and that's via free agency, which Perry Manassian has done in years past as well. And we've seen how that hasn't been successful for the Halos, right? So this might be a really dumb question, John, but if you're Perry Manassian, how are you continuing to build this bullpen? Do you go out and get the Robert Stevenson type of pitcher like David Robertson that's out there right now? Or do you continue to look within and let the Michael Darrell Hicks in your organization come up and figure some things out because it could be a benefit for 2026?
Yeah, I think when you consider what they're doing with Michael Darrell Hicks right now, it's frustrating in the sense that the Angels have been off to a good start, and I understand the need for Michael Darrell Hicks to come up because of the Ben Joyce injury. Mike, I'm at a position now where they're in a position to start this year out great, and so if Robert Stevenson is out there, David Robertson is out there. Their names are too similar,
right?
What are they? Mike and John. Their names are too similar. So if David Robertson is out there, this is the moment to go and get somebody like that. And okay, here's what I mean to say. I love the way he's built this pen, but there also has been a lot of risk involved. First up is Ryan Johnson and Garrett McDaniels being on the roster to start this year. Both were a gamble. Because Garrett McDaniels never pitched above A ball, and Ryan Johnson didn't throw a minor league pitch, and he made the team. One's worked out, one hasn't really worked out. And so those were worthy gambles to take because Garrett McDaniels showed you a lot of good stuff in spring training. They apparently worked with him for like a week, and now he's not as great as he was. So how about we go back to what the Dodgers did for him in their system instead of fixing things, right? But I say that because that's also another way that Perry has built this pen. It's a lot of gambles and a lot of risks. Look, like Ian Anderson, that's a great pickup to start the year. But have we seen enough of Ian Anderson to go, all right, it's time to cut bait. It's time to cut loose? Because I think we have. I think we've seen enough of Ian Anderson. Worthy trade, worthy guy to pick up, hoping for a bounce back. He's just your long man. And so that's not a very, clutch position you have to be in. But unfortunately for him, Mike, I think we've seen enough of Ian Anderson. And I think that maybe we're starting to see enough of Garrett McDaniels where it's time to make some moves around. Unfortunately, I don't know that the Angels have much relief depth behind those guys. And so maybe they're kind of stuck with them right now, unless they go out and make a free agent signing like David Robertson, which, again, they really should do. You can't wait around until Robert Stevenson comes back in July, and he might not even be ready, when he's technically ready to come back. He might need some more time. So I say all that because in some ways, Perry has built this bullpen in great ways, especially making trades and getting good guys from other teams, the way that he got Zefferjon, letting Ben Joyce develop and all of that. But also he's taken some big risks. Some of them have paid off and some of them have not. What are your thoughts on it?
I think that when you make a move like getting a David Robertson, what you're doing is you're helping your team not do what they did last night. I know the offense didn't come through. I get it. But it was 5-3 at one point, right? And then they gave up a run, and then they gave up another run, and then they gave up another run, right? When it's 5-3 and you have 2 outs and you have Mike Trout and Taylor Ward on base, it might change the mindset of Jorge Soler at the plate. when you're down 5-3 and you're battling at the plate, there's still this potential of like, we can still do something here. Get 2 on, hit a 3-run home run, right? Like we can still do something here. That only happens when your bullpen comes in and is able to hold the lead. And as you mentioned, Preston, you were tweeting with him yesterday. When you bring in your A guys, you are in this game. The problem is that the B guys are very, very questionable. They're not reliable. And when Wash brought in Garrett McDaniel after Jose Soriano, I was like, that's just not a good move. And I know he didn't have a bad outing, but he did give up a run after the Angels came back to score a couple of runs. It just wasn't a good move. It wasn't a smart move. And it would have been better to go with a longer reliever. It would have been better to go with somebody that you can be a bit more confident in, because your offense is struggling and you have to bring in somebody that's going to throw up some zeros on the board. And the Angels just, they seem to make really dumb decisions in games when it's really close, when they need a shutdown inning. And instead of bringing in Troy Percival, they bring in Rob Quinlan, who is not even a bullpen guy, right? Like, you know what I mean? There's a throwback for you. But I mean, that's what it feels like. It feels like you go and you get somebody that's not going to shut this thing down. When you have a David Robertson on your team, what you're doing is you're extending your bullpen. And now all of a sudden it's Robertson, Zephyr John. When Joyce comes back, it's great. Daryl Hicks has been pretty good. You've got Kenley Jansen at the end of this pin. I mean, there's 5 guys right there that could shut this puppy down real fast.
Brock Burke in there too. Yeah,
absolutely.
In there. Yeah.
And Brock Burke is not bad. He's not bad. He has some moments where he does kind of lose it, but even that gets covered up if you bring in an extra arm like a David Robertson, right?
Yeah, exactly. And look, we had this conversation about how has Perry built this pen, but then over that, you have to consider, and you just brought it up, how Ron Washington is managing this pen, how he's using those relief guys. That's a whole other element to the conversation. And some people might say, well, Ron can only use who Perry has given him, and he's got to work with the guys that Perry's given him. And then some might say, like you, why are you bringing in Garrett McDaniels when you're that close and you need 3 or 4 innings out of a guy? Bring in Reed Detmer. So there's a lot more to the conversation when you factor in the fact that you've got a manager managing this team, and sometimes they don't always make the best decisions, especially against a team like the Pirates.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. You get local analysis on a national scale, and you can find the show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sell the team. Sell the team. Shout out to the Halo fans at the stadium chanting that last night. Hey, give us a follow.
That microphone behind home plate was picking all of it up.
Oh, somebody turn that off. The producer, turn that off. Hey, well, thanks for being here. We appreciate you tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and connect with Mike and I on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
Yeah, I mentioned it already in segment 1. We're going to ask the question, what do you do with Kyron Paris? And what do you do with Ian Anderson? You kind of clued us in on your thoughts on what you do with Ian Anderson, but we'll dive deep into that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. We hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
If you're at the game tonight, tweet at Super Halo Bros or at Locked On Angels. Let me know where you're sitting. I'll see if I can come find you, or you can find me. It'll be a fun hide-and-seek game.